Hi everyone, welcome back to the Salt and Sauce podcast looking at Edinburgh football and its two big clubs. We've got myself representing Hearts, Robert, my good friend, on the Hibs side of things. Before we get started, obviously, we'll do our usual shout out for our sponsor, Mint Box Removals. Big Dave, who you met on the podcast, an Aberdeen fan. Aberdeen will be one of the topics we cover today, Robert, I'm sure. They're a brilliant local company that will get you anywhere you need to go around Edinburgh and indeed beyond, into storage, moving house, whatever you need. So their details are on the screen now. Please do give them a message. On to the football though. We're recording this just before Aberdeen are about to play Rangers. So obviously we've no idea what the score is going to be in that game. But Robert, it's probably going to have an impact on how you feel, or certainly how you feel now could change in a couple of hours' time. So if we start off with Hibs going to Celtic Park yesterday, obviously you lost. We kind of saw it coming. What's your current thoughts? How are you feeling about it?
I am a little bit disappointed. I'm not surprised,
Hmm.
but I am a little bit disappointed with um I think just our approach to the game, and I understand why we set up the way we did, but I just think in the circumstances it was a free hit and we really could have gone for it. Our goal difference isn't going to be caught up by Aberdeen.
No.
That's just not going to happen. So I really think we could have really had a go. And you know what? If you get a hammering, you get a hammering. You're going to Celtic Park anyway. Um, no one's expecting us to do anything, and I just think we've said it before on this podcast. The way to get results against Celtic and Rangers is to have a go. If you sit in, if you try and keep things tight, more often than not, they'll just pick you off.
Yeah.
Now, the way the game kind of panned out, we set up with Campbell in instead of Hoylett. And the moment I saw that that was the case, I was like, right, I know what type of game we're going for, which was disappointing. That's what I'm saying, because as we said before in the last podcast, Hoylett gets you moving in those attacking areas. He can pick those passes. Campbell's a workhorse. Like that's his main thing, is just work rate. And look, there is a time for that, but I think the time for that is when you're winning a game, or if you're drawing a game and you're taking the draw and you're bringing him on for the last kind of 30, 40 minutes. It's not to go and win you a game. And that sounds harsh because I know he scored two against Celtic, and sometimes he does have a goal in him. But in a game like that, where your back's to the wall, um, when you have the ball, you need players that are going to retain possession, and be confident on the ball. And he's just not.
Hmm. It reminds me when towards the end of Fergie at Man United, when he had Park Ji Sung, you knew when he was playing it's because they were up against a team that he wanted him to just be an absolute pest to
Yeah.
mark. But mark high up the pitch, not a defensive player, sort of
Yeah.
in an attacking midfield position, but not to get on the ball. Um, and even Darren Fletcher to an extent would do that for him. And
Yeah.
it's funny you say that the minute you see Campbell rather than Hoylett, you think,
Yeah.
well, I know
I
what's coming.
yeah, and actually, I thought he might go with Hoylett, and really kind of have a go. Now that being said, look, we go 1-0 up completely against a run of play. Boyle should have scored before he actually.
Yeah,
He
so I
actually
heard.
did. He had a great chance, and you'd put money on him to put that away. Um, but Celtic were, it was backs to the wall stuff pretty much from the start. You could tell Celtic were in the mood. They were moving it about, couldn't really get near them. We were keeping the tight defensive shape, but you did feel this is a matter of time, because we weren't keeping the ball. Anytime we got it, we were giving it straight back to them.
Yeah.
They were growing in confidence in the game. But that being said, the first goal, um, Cadden crosses it, that hits off, I think, one of their defenders, and Boyle really is sharp in the box. Nice touch and a really nice finish as well. And then you're thinking, right, okay, we've not really played well here. We're 1-0 up at Celtic Park, doing what we said. You go 1-0 up in a game, without really going for it or playing well. It, it you know, in some ways it's cruel because it allows you to dream, of what can happen as a supporter. But A long, long way to go from there. And you did feel, even though it was 1-0, you were just thinking, if we can get to halftime
Yeah.
at 1-0 up, then that'd be good. Or even 1-1.
Then maybe you get a point.
Exactly. It wouldn't be the worst. But we did really well again defensively till about 40 minutes, and then we kind of fell apart at the back. Celtic played the ball over the top. Rocky was not looking at the ball. He was looking at the man, tried to shoulder barge him for some reason, rather than just kick the ball, which stops that goal. If he keeps his eye on the ball, they don't score there. And Smith just comes running out for some reason. So between Rocky and Smith, they were at fault for that goal. And then it's 1-1. And then you're thinking, right, you look, it's not the worst. 1-1, we've scored here. We've not played well. Let's get in at halftime and regroup. 4 minutes later, the ball comes across again, and Rocky loses his man, and they get in and score 2-1. And
So
then
Rocky Bashiri back in the bad books this weekend at least.
this weekend, like
No,
he's.
no.
I want to say this: he's been one of our best players in this run.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's been a big part of kind of the run. I think we said that before to give him credit. However, yesterday was an off day for him.
Sure.
And he wasn't the only one. But if you make those defensive errors against the quality of Celtic, you know, they can make you look very, very bad.
The problem is if you make a mistake at centre back, or even more so as a goalie,
yeah,
it's probably going to result in at least a chance or a goal. Whereas like if you're even if you're playing fullback, you've still got the centre backs protecting
exactly.
the goal. And certainly if you're up the park and you give the ball away, it's not great obviously, but there's still a long way to go. Whereas Bashiri, if he's making two mistakes, then suddenly they're in.
Yeah, and as I said, Smith didn't cover himself in glory as well for the first one as well, and then the third one again. So we come out at the second half. We actually started pretty well. And then, you know, once it goes to 3-1, it's all over. So ball comes across, Smith should just catch it. I mean, I would bet I could catch that. It's one of them where you just think, right, two hands on the ball.
Yep.
He lets it like slip through his hands. And that then leads to a Celtic chance. Now, to be fair to Smith, okay, he made that mistake. You hope your defenders help you out there, but I don't know what our defense was doing, and you know, because it's a nice finish.
Did they switch off because they think Smith's catching it?
Possibly.
You shouldn't be doing that. You should be, you know, the strikers are on their toes, so you need to be on yours.
And to be fair, there were enough Hibs players around the guy that actually scored. Can't even remember who it was. But there was enough defenders to kind of stop that from happening. But it goes to 3-1 then, and then you're just thinking kind of game over. And at that point, Gray brings on Hoylett, Cadden, Gale, and Hoylett and Nicky Cadden should be starting that game. If we're serious about wanting to win or get something from that game, I keep saying it, and it is a bit of a frustration with Gray that we've played Celtic now 4 times this season. We've won once against them, and lost 3, which, you know, we're lucky to win 1. I know that, but you have to start your best players if you're going to get something from these games. And I'd hoped for this last game, which was a free hit. I'd hoped that Gray had kind of learned the lessons from the past to not sit in against Celtic, to have a go. The one time we did beat them, we had a go in the match. And yeah, that was at Easter Road, but still, we had a go. We let the shackles off a bit and we rattled them. And that is the way to get something against Celtic. The way to not get something is to sit in, play players that can't retain the ball. That it's just not their strength. Whereas if we had Hoylett, if we had Nicky Cadden, we had a few crosses, we had a few corners here and there. It was a bit too little, too late when they came on. So it was a bit frustrating because I just think we could have had we could have had more of a go than what we did.
That said, I think you're maybe right that tactically you could do something different there. But I don't think Hibs were terrible yesterday.
No, we weren't terrible. We weren't. No, we weren't. It's just
similar to last time you played Celtic. I think our summary was fine. Like you weren't great. There's no you can't polish it to say it was a really good performance, but it certainly wasn't terrible. And what that game looked like to me from what I saw, admittedly only the highlights, was the better team looked like the better team
yeah, yeah. And that's
compared to
like I'm not
saying that you're equal or anything.
no, I'm not. I'm just saying I don't think Celtic were amazing yesterday. They
No,
weren't
no,
at
no.
their best. They didn't need the point is they didn't need to be. We didn't push them. We didn't we may have rattled them a little bit going 1-0 up, but they were still in full control of the game.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
if
yeah.
you watch the way they pass it, the way they get it out wide, the one touch pass and their movement, it's just above anything else in the league.
But
Um,
you look at who scored for them as well. Kun, Ida, and Hatate got the third. I
yeah,
mean, they the three of them are too good for Scottish football. Probably. I
yeah,
mean, Ida I don't know is a bit hit and miss, but he still cost 9 million,
yeah.
more than the whole Hibs squad put together, pretty much.
They not scored 20 goals this season as well. And
Exactly. I mean, what can you do?
yeah. So I guess to sum up, I didn't expect to win, obviously. And if Celtic turn up even in third gear, it's usually enough. We do go 1-0 up. I would have liked us to have more of a goal
Hmm.
from the start.
Well, we'll come on to what that might mean moving forward. Obviously, a big part of that might change in the next couple of hours.
Yeah.
Um, but I suppose we'll preview the Hearts games quickly before we do that. It, it's it's far less consequential because our season's pretty much a write-off. But that said, you want to finish with a flurry, even if you're stuck in mid-table. Um, and similar to last week, 3 goals banging in, Shankland double and Forest as well. And I don't think we were brilliant yesterday. 3-0 makes it sound really comfortable. And it was. We definitely deserved to win, but like we weren't amazing. We were kind of actually blew hot and cold a little bit. Um, the goals were all well taken though again. Um, Shankland's first one in particular from outside the box, really, really nicely taken. But the two things that hit home for me when you look at our 2 goal scorers over the last 2 games, in which we scored 6 goals, which most teams would be happy with. Shankland's getting 2 doubles by playing through the middle up front, and I know that's again I'd sometimes defend the number 10 position, but look at his returns in the last couple of games, and actually Forrest, who didn't really kick much of a ball under Critchley. I still don't think he's brilliant by any means, and he can definitely blow hot and cold, and he sometimes needs 5 chances to score one, but he will get chances because he's quite quick. He cuts about. He is a poor version of his brother, um, but he's actually got not a bad return. He scored some big goals for Hearts and some really good ones. He scored. I remember, obviously, I'm going back a bit. He scored a screamer against Hibs. He scored a screamer in Europe. He scored last week. He scored this week. He does get goals. Um, so quite nice to see him back in. Would I want to keep him? No, probably we probably need to upgrade. But he's been a lot more influential than some of the players who are playing in front of him for quite a while.
It was interesting, sure. I was listening to. I didn't actually see the highlights from the Hearts game, but I was listening to them on Sports Sound.
Yeah,
We were saying again what we were saying about just don't overcomplicate it. Put Shankland in the box, through the middle, but they were also saying about Forrest as well and the difference in him. I guess in the last 2 games and what an impact he could have had on kind of Hearts season had that type of form been shown, but it's all lifts and buts, I guess. But and it's easier to play when there's no pressure.
of
I
course.
often say that it's easy to turn up and play a dead rubber game and score a few goals, and the other team's got nothing to play for. Um, but it makes you think: what was Fox saying to Critchley? If
I mean, there's
Critchley
listen,
left, what he
yeah,
was
there's
part of
loads
that
of
process.
questions. There's loads of questions you can ask about that, and I mean, you don't know. You don't know what the conversations were like. You don't know if Fox spoke up enough.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah,
Critchley listened enough. You don't know if they actually had really good conversations, but Critchley said, "No, look, this is on me. I'm
yeah,
accountable."
yeah.
Any of these
It'd
things
be
are.
interesting though, wouldn't it?
Oh, definitely, yeah, yeah. Aye, no, that would be a good one to know. But I mean, your point about Forest, and I know what sports fans are like, especially with the Shankland thing, that I still think they don't appreciate how good he is at number 10 as well when he's got a better striker in front of him.
Mm.
But obviously, it's hard to argue with him playing up front. I would still rather see him up front. Anyway, Forrest is something we've been missing for a while, even if he's not quite good enough at that job in terms of having a bit of pace, a natural bit of width that we've lacked for ages. So yeah, there's I mean I wouldn't be that against keeping him as a squad player because he does have something that can unlock. And it's like what you say about Hoylett. Not that I think Forrest is as good as Hoylett, but he's got something a bit different about him
Yeah,
that can whether it's scoring a worldie or getting past somebody or hitting the byline, whatever it might be.
yeah,
Um, but listen, look, as you say, the pressure is off, which makes me not even that bothered about analysing
yeah,
the game. In all honesty, it
yeah.
is just nice to keep a clean sheet. It's with our third choice goalkeeper in Fulton making his debut, which is quite nice. I know that Clark's still coming back from an injury, and so maybe a bit too soon to risk him coming in there. And you're right. It's easy to play better when the game's a dead rubber, but the thing is, you can't control the game being a dead rubber. It already is. So you either play well or you play badly.
No, no, absolutely.
The fact that we played quite well is as positive as it can get
Yeah.
yesterday. And it puts us back up to seventh. You take whatever prize money you can get from finishing in a certain position. Um,
Shankland, do you think he's going to stay?
well, apparently there's fresh contract talks. Um, do I think or do I hope? I'd probably say yes to both. Actually, I've always had this feeling that he will, even when it looked really unlikely. For some reason, I felt he was going to stay, and I don't really know where that came from. Obviously, it looks more and more likely now. The more that the worse his season got, and the less interested other teams became. Um, I don't know. Yeah, I've just got a feeling that he will, and I would like him to. Obviously, I think as bad as this season has been for him, there was a lot of games he wasn't playing badly. He just wasn't scoring goals, or certainly not playing worse than any other player on the pitch. But he also was so good for 2 seasons that I mean, if you can get that back, any team in the league would take that.
Okay, and another question for you,
Hmm.
with McInnes coming in, which we think is going to happen,
Hmm.
and maybe in the next pod it'll probably be confirmed by then. But I don't see him as a McInnes style striker. That's the only thing. McInnes likes big workhorses up front. Unless he goes with two up front, which he does do. He's done it at a few clubs, but he did. I think he previously sold Shankland to Aberdeen, didn't he? Now, look, Shankland's obviously an improved player, but
Yeah, yeah,
it's a nice subplot.
yeah. It is, yeah, yeah. And I'm sure there's some headlines you could write about that. But I mean, like Shankland, I'm sure he says it himself. He was dug meat at Aberdeen.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything at all. Um, McInnes would have been stupid not to sell him, I
Mm,
would say. No, I see what you mean. I know, and you look at like Vassell and the likes that he's got at Kilmarnock, who
mm,
we've Watkins, we've given them their dues. They're decent. They're a handful
yeah.
to mark. I think that's what he's got at Kilmarnock. I think McInnes is a good enough manager to work with what he's got. And if you've got Shankland and a good Shankland,
Mm,
a good manager gets the most out of him. And I do think McInnes is good enough to do that. Um, I suppose jumping on to the McInnes appointment in general, apparently we're going to make an official approach
mm,
tomorrow being Monday. Um, I can't see why it wouldn't happen. Even I don't know if you heard McInnes's interview yesterday, but his
yeah.
words were there's been no contact club to club yet, which
Mm,
you don't say that
no, no, no.
unless there's been other contact. You don't specify specifically club to club. And I think the interviewer probably could have pushed him a bit more if he wanted to, but he didn't. Um, I think it was Chick Young actually. But anyway, um, it looks like it's going to happen. McInnes would like to get back to, and Hearts are a bigger club than Kilmarnock. I think even Hibs fans would admit that. Bigger budget and all that. So I think he's a safe appointment. We've tried a couple of left field appointments in the past that haven't really worked, and actually, even as badly as they finished, our best appointments, certainly across my lifetime, really, has been Nielsen, Levine. I know we can look at things like Burley, but that was a bit of a freak period in Hearts history with Romanov and things like that. Um, so yeah, I don't know. McInnes is kind of in that mold. I think there will come a time when the football might be a bit tough to watch. That said, I know you in particular, you love a horrible 1-0 win if you get it.
I
And
do. And Hibs over the years, just we don't do enough of that. We either win or we lose. And sometimes you do need to get that horrible scrappy draw. And I think that that's where McInnes's knowledge of Scottish football. He's got a very good record in the transfer market, getting the best out of his squad. So you know we are expecting on the green half of Edinburgh a much improved Hearts next season, particularly if you get someone in like McInnes. I would say if you got a left field appointment, we'd be kind of it's more of an experiment again, and you're like, well, it doesn't know Scottish football, and it is unique, it is physical, it is fast paced. Okay, the quality is not always the best, but you do need a certain type of manager and a pragmatic approach sometimes to get over the line. You know, if you're going to Ross County away, for example, there's a certain style of play that will get you the points.
I mean, you said yourself that there's been a couple of times you wanted McInnes at Hibs.
Yes,
I'm assuming that your opinion is good appointment.
absolutely.
Not that you're happy with it, but good appointment for Hearts.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I think it's more than a good appointment. I think it's very good. I don't see that there's a better candidate right now for that job, and I think it's good timing for McInnes as well. So, again, what I would say is the only thing about McInnes is you may struggle at the home games when you're playing the likes of say Motherwell, for example, and you want Hearts to take the game to them and free flowing attacking football. You might not get that. You might get that 1-0 win from like a header or a scrappy thing in the box.
I've always wondered this, that I wonder if some managers, they get a reputation because a good manager looks at the squad that he's got and maybe adapts
Yeah.
from there rather than saying this is what I do and this is what I'll always do. Because I actually remember there was a time, and I know Nielsen very much became a similar type of manager there to what we're talking about McInnes. But there was also a time, see when Hearts were in the Championship and the first season or two we came back up when we had the likes of Osman So, Wanma, um, Gomez and that in midfield. We were a good footballing team, and I mean a
Mm,
really good footballing team. We had Nicholson and Walker and lots of young players and all that. We were a really good footballing team, and that was under Nielsen. So,
mm,
I, as much as you're right, McInnes, part of the thing you're looking at because he's got so much experience, it means you've got a lot to draw on and say this is what he
mm,
does. And I'll go back to the point I made about Shankland. Would he, if he's got a really good player in front of him that does a certain thing, would you bin him because that's not what I used to work with, or would you work around that and use him
mm,
properly? So I'm hoping McInnes does that. Listen, if we had a season or two where the football is not quite as good, but we get third spot, we get maybe win a cup or get to a final or whatever, it's certainly better than where we are just now. It
absolutely.
it's the sort of targets that Hearts and Hibs have. So listen, we'd probably take that well, in fact, we'd definitely take that for now.
I think the fact that Hearts have no Europe as well, there's a real chance for him to, build in the summer and then really attack the league.
Yeah.
Whereas the likes of, sorry, my camera went a bit funny there, where the likes of uh, Aberdeen and Hibs are going to have Europe to contend with as well, which we know is difficult. If you're not Rangers or Celtic with huge squad and resources to pull on, it's difficult to manage uh,
Thursday, Sunday.
Europe and then the Sunday games.
And that's where Hearts have had that challenge for a
Yeah,
couple of seasons. Don't get me wrong, that's not why we were quite as bad as we were.
yeah,
But you look at it, well, McInnes can tell you from being at Kilmarnock at the start of the season,
yeah.
it's tough to get going. And suddenly, okay, you've maybe not lost all 6 games after your European games or however many it is,
Mm,
but you've maybe won 3 and drawn 3 and
mm,
maybe 6 winnable games.
yeah.
So look, yeah, that will be a challenge for Hibs and Aberdeen, and that automatically becomes an opportunity for Hearts at that point. But assuming Hibs and Aberdeen keep up their form into next season, I'd be amazed if Hearts weren't causing you bother looking for third spot as well.
Well, what we need to do is we now know we're in Europe. Fourth is secured, which is uh, the turnaround has been excellent. Obviously, we want third. We making
Yeah.
no bones about that. But we should have no excuses for building a squad capable of Europe and the league as well. We have enough time to prepare. We should have enough money there where we've got a squad capable of doing both. So I just hope we've obviously bought McGrath in from Aberdeen. It's a good signing, as we said. We need more of that type of quality of player. And I just hope that we are doing our homework now.
No, absolutely. But I suppose maybe to avoid jumping the gun onto that
Yeah,
though, where are you going to finish?
we're going to finish third.
What are your last two games? Remind me, you've got
They're in away on Wednesday.
St Mirren were very good yesterday.
Yes, they were. That is one game I was looking at the highlights from, and Mandron and Alunga are Rocky. Better have one of his better games, or they're going to be ragdolled at the back. I don't think O'Hora as well at the back for us. He's not good enough. That is an area we need to strengthen. Whether Rocky stays or goes,
Yeah.
we need at least another, physical centre half in there because I
You could do a lot worse.
I am worried about Wednesday night.
Do a lot worse than getting Gogic back. I'm serious. If you play him at centre half rather than the number 10 role.
Well, he's a sweeper.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure you could work around that, but all I'm saying is I think you could do a lot worse
Yeah.
with where he's playing now. But anyway, are you a bit worried about St Mirren?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Look, aside from their upturn in form, they are one of our bogey teams. They're one of these teams that just we can never win against. They're the only team we've not won against this season. Yeah, they're the one team. Depending,
Was that not your first game of the season, St Mirren? And it was a shocker.
that was a shocker. It's an absolute. It was a horror show.
I suppose the first few months were, but yeah.
But yeah, look, I don't know. We do have a better team than St Mirren, so I'm not like overly worried. We're not going to play Celtic, for example, but we are going to play one of the informed teams at Paisley. They're big, they're physical, they'll run all day, they will make it very uncomfortable for Hibs, dangerous at set pieces. The two boys up front we mentioned there, we need to be on guard. The good thing though is St Mirren have to go for it. So a draw is really no good for them because they're chasing down Dundee United. So they have to go for it, which could be a good thing for Hibs because we are a good counter-attacking side. We need to start Nicky Cadden, we need to start Hoylett, and we need to try and win the game, regardless of what happens with Aberdeen and Rangers.
You've got, but I don't know. I think the Aberdeen Rangers game is massive because you've got St Mirren on Wednesday and then Rangers next weekend.
Yeah.
Now, if right, okay, if I want to be the Hearts fan that's trying to wind you up, I'm saying that they're two losable games. If you lost them both, I don't think you'd be going, what's going on here?
No.
So Aberdeen, they're essentially 4 points behind you when you look at goal difference.
Yeah.
You've got Celtic on Wednesday. Let's write that off, which means they've got Dundee United next weekend. That takes them level. So I think this Rangers game is massive. If Aberdeen get anything, then ultimately you're still catchable for them.
Yes. If Aberdeen get a draw, it goes down to 2 points.
Yeah, no, I mean you're still catchable, and then let's write off their Celtic game midweek. It means that really
we have to get someone against Rangers.
Well, yeah, you would at that point, I suppose. But ultimately, St Mirren and Rangers, two tough games that you've got coming up. You definitely need something. And I guess my question to you is, Hibs have been brilliant, obviously. How do you think they'll handle pressure like that?
It's going to be interesting. I think in some ways Wednesday night is going to be our biggest game of the season. I think Gray said it himself. He says, we've two cup finals coming up. We may only have one. We may only need one if we have the right performance. I'm hoping, obviously, Rangers turn up today and get their first home win, and I don't know how long. But if Rangers do win today and Aberdeen get nothing, it's done. it's
I
over.
think so, yeah, because otherwise they need to get a point at least against Celtic.
Yeah, and I think Rodgers talked about rotating the squad. Even a rotated Celtic squad is still should be good enough to beat Aberdeen. But
I mean, stranger things have happened, but yeah,
yeah,
you're
no, look,
writing that off.
I always say don't rely on other people. Do our job, beat St Mirren on Wednesday, and then take the Rangers game will take care of itself at the weekend.
So forgetting some of the other games that are going on and forgetting Rangers next weekend, just as we move towards the end of the podcast, Robert, if I offered you a point against St Mirren,
Based on what for the Rangers Aberdeen? What's our prediction there first?
let's just say to keep it down the middle, let's say that finishes a draw. So Aberdeen are 2 points behind you, essentially three with a goal difference. They've got Celtic, so we're kind of writing that off. You would then, with a draw against St Mirren, that would put you 3 points clear with the goal difference. But I suppose at that point, it's actually a no-brainer. I
No,
suppose.
we need to win. We
No,
need to win.
I think the draw does it because you're 3 points with a much better goal difference. If Aberdeen draw against Rangers,
Celtic.
lose to Celtic.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, if that happens, then it's no. Then we still need someone against Rangers if they beat Dundee United.
No, because unless they win like 20-0. So actually, the point against St Mirren would do it in that case. So even a draw
Oh
today,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry, I was thinking if
right.
Aberdeen win against Rangers. Yeah, yeah. That would be enough as long as those results happen.
I
Would I
guess what
take the
I'm saying
point?
is, if Aberdeen win against Rangers today, the answer to that question sounds like it's no.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. If they win, to be
If that-
honest, even if they got a draw, nah, I'm not taking a point away to St Mirren. We need to win. We need to win.
Fair enough. No, I like the ambition. Good on you. Good
Yeah,
on you. My next question, final question for you then is, will you?
I think it'll be a draw, but I do think the Rangers game is going to be. Um, I think we're going to get something from that game. I just do, and I know. Look, they're better in every position than Hibs just about, but I have a feeling last game of the season it may still be in the balance as well. I've just got a real feeling that we're going to do something on the last day. It'd be typical Hibs.
What a team to stick it to as well, if you could.
It'd be typical Hibs to lose to St Mirren, have to beat Rangers, and then do it.
Well, imagine you needed to beat Rangers and it's 2-2 and David Gray brings himself on.
Well, that, that's dreams. Uh, but yeah, no. Look, I'm predicting a draw. I don't want to draw. I want to win, and I hope I'm wrong on Wednesday. But I think we'll get something against Rangers, and ultimately, regardless of what happens over the next few hours, I still back Hibs to get third because I don't think Aberdeen are good enough to take enough points off Rangers and Celtic to overturn it. Look, I might be wrong, and as I said about the cup final, if Aberdeen go ahead and win that, and if they do kind of get performances and results against Rangers, Celtic, if they deserve it. That's all you can say. If you do it that way, they deserve it. But I just from what I've seen of Aberdeen, they're not good enough to do that. So that's it.
Well, I'd love to say good luck, Robert, but I'd be lying. It'll be an exciting end to the season, if nothing else, because obviously the league title has never been a competition this season. Relegation's an interesting one with St Johnstone, Ross County, and Dundee, so that'll be quite good fun to watch. And obviously the battle for third will be a good one. So I'll let you go. I don't know if enjoy's the right word, but endure the Aberdeen Rangers game and see what happens at the end of that.
The Desser's hat trick, hopefully.
Right, well, thanks everyone for tuning in again. Do hit like, do hit subscribe, all those sorts of things, and give us any comments, any feedback, any questions for us to chat about. But we'll be back next week with, reviewing the games, but really an end of season review to chat through how that's all gone. So it'd be great to hear your thoughts as well. So let us know below. That'd be great. Robert, thanks a lot, and I will see you next week.
Thanks very much. See you next week.